So welcome to another podcast episode of My Aussie Dream. And today we have a very awesome and special guest I'm very excited about. His name is Phil Roberts. And he has a very impressive CV behind him. He is the Director of Future Focus Business Advisory, which is an award-winning company, and the president of the Canberra chapter of Institute of Advisors. He's also the director of Disability Housing Solutions, a company with over $100 million worth of developments in the NDIS sector. And I just have insider information that it could be a lot more than 100 million now, but there you go. So welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for that. I hope I can live up to that introduction. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Well, definitely.
Now, I've got to address. I need to address the obvious too. I look like I'm sitting in Vanuatu, but I've blown that out of the water by wearing a Kathmandu puffer jacket. So thank God for technology, eh?
Definitely. I think we all, well, definitely I wish I was in Vanuatu right now. So I'm right there with you mentally. Okay. Well, maybe because I feel like you're an expert in both the business and property side, maybe just a little bit about your backstory, Phil. Like, how did you get started in business consulting and property?
Oh, that's a really interesting question, Mary. It evolved. My entire working life, 45 years of it, to be honest. I've only been on wages for a couple of years in that entire time. And I think it's because I'm what people might call a bit of an outlier. I'm a terrible employee. I'm always thinking of a better way to run businesses and a better way that my boss on those few occasions could run his business. So I just found that for most of my working life, I've either run my own businesses or worked in commission-only positions where I was calling upon my innate ability to be able to make a way for myself, make a name for myself.
Yep.
And through that course, I've made a fair few mistakes. I'll put my hand on my heart and say, I know what it's like to tear up $1 million. But it's those things that only make you stronger. And I realised that apart from becoming stronger, I was becoming more and more knowledgeable about what not to do. And I was introduced to the business advisory space by a very dear friend who said, I'm going into this and this is something that you should look at. And I just fell into it and I found my feet. I just found that I had an ability to be able to relate to a business owner because most of the times I had been in his or her shoes in the past. And then I would be able to engage, start at the start with the business and help them turn it into something that relied less on them, therefore became more valuable and more saleable, and then help them with the exit. And it's just flowed on from there. And then from there into disability housing, because I've always had an interest in construction. And then when you get to a time in your life where you think, well, what else can I do? And suddenly there's the opportunity to do something, provide something for people that society has tended to forget about, people with severe intellectual and physical disabilities, and be able to help them into a property that they can call their own for the rest of their life. And to be able to do that and build a robust business model is just a match made in heaven for me. So that takes me from employee up to person running and operating a couple of different businesses and enjoying every minute of all of them.
Fantastic. Well done, Phil.
Yeah.
And then I guess, so how many years have you been doing both business and property for?
Well, property my whole life, property as a profession for over 10 years, renovated over 15 properties, granny flats and renovations and that type of thing, just adding value. That's then transitioned now into, multi-story developments with our NDIS, SDA stuff. And then as far as business, I'd consider that I've been at some stage in that business continuum now for over 30 years, and then officially hanging out my shingle as a consultant about 10 years ago.
Fantastic. So I guess right now we're coming to hopefully the tail end of this coronavirus pandemic in Australia. I guess what are the, you mentioned mistakes before. Are there any common and or top mistakes that you see people are making during this pandemic?
I do. Yes, thanks for asking that. I absolutely do. I see that people they buy into the doom and gloom way too quickly, and we can be all guilty of that. Misery loves company. But we've got choices. We might not be able to control what happens to us, but we can absolutely control how we react to what happens to us. And we can get out of bed in the morning and think that, like Chicken Little, that the sky's falling, or we can get out and put our shoulders back, pay thanks to the universe, whoever that person in the universe might be to you, and thank them for being there, for being alive, not being disabled, being able to get out of bed and make decisions, and being thankful for everything you've got in your life, and then look for opportunities. Now, the opportunities are abounding, and nature abhors a vacuum. So if you've got a vacant spot in your mind, there's either going to be negative thoughts go into it, or there's going to be really positive things. So the old law of attraction, you attract what you think about. I only think about good things happening. And some of the other stuff does happen, but then it's how you react to it. So the big mistake people are making, I believe, and I'm not an expert, and X is a has-been and a spurt's a drip under pressure. I never want to be an expert. But what the thing is that they do is buy into what the majority of people seem to be talking about or thinking about or projecting at any given time. Now, if you look at the stock market is just a reflection of what the majority of the people that own that stock think about that stock at any given time. Well, property is no different. If you think property's going up, and more people think it's going up than going down, that's going to become supply and demand. And guess what's going to happen? It's a self-fulfilling self-fulfilling prophecy. Property will go up. But if we've got everyone from the agents onward talking about holes in the market and drops of 35% and so forth, and there will be pockets that do that, that's not helping anyone. We've got a really unique opportunity at this minute. I mean almost literally at this minute, this week and this month. The buyers are out there. The buyers are cashed up. They're ready to go, but there's not a lot of stock because the majority of people have been scared. So this is the opportunity if you're going to sell. But we've got some hurt coming down the track. The smart people are going to be getting out of what they own, whatever that might be, and having the cash to take advantage of the opportunities that will be coming before the end of this year. So some commentators are saying, Scott Morrison, for example, is talking about a V-shaped recovery, and we're going to bounce back up. We're going to fall off the cliff, and then almost exactly the same angle of attack come straight back up to where we were before. And that's not going to happen. It won't happen. There's too many changes, even the way we now work and interact. Other people say we're going to have a much bigger bounce where we're going to drop off the same cliff and we're going to bounce back past where we were. It's not going to happen because we're not going to have the employment. There's housing stuff coming along down that continuum. I'm actually quoting Bernard Salt here, who's saying that we're going to have a 3-step recovery, and the first 2 steps are going to be upward, and people will be spending like drunken sailors. But that's all going to come home to roost in the last quarter of this year as lots and lots of properties come onto the stressed property market, or maybe even not get to the market. There's been a lot of mortgage stress. The banks they're being really good corporate citizens. They're doing the right thing. They're saying we're not going to repossess you. For anyone that gets into trouble, into mortgage stress during coronavirus, we're not going to repossess. But by the living Harry, they're out there doing everything they've always done with people that were in mortgage stress before COVID hit. I just looked at the figures from South Australia the other day, and there was 42 cases, 42 mortgagees in court. This week in South Australia, there's 22. They're out there doing it. I look at CoreLogic early market indicators, and I just see mortgagee in possession ordered valuations. This week was down. Last week, 33% up on the week before, and the week before that, 54% up on the previous week. They're getting their ducks in a row, Mary. There's a lot of hurt coming late this year. But when there's crisis, there's also opportunity. So, anyway, I'll get down off my soapbox now.
No, I do enjoy listening to your soapbox, but I definitely agree with you. And I think that's a mistake that people make in business and property. Yeah, probably not just during the coronavirus crisis, but as you said, just normally with the stock market. Yeah, when the sky's falling, everybody's running for the hills, but that's when the opportunities are, right?
Absolutely. And it was Warren Buffett that said, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. He didn't become as wealthy as he is by doing what everyone else does. He's quite contrary to what everyone else does. If you're going to follow anyone, don't follow the sheep, follow Warren.
Definitely. And
or follow Mary Lou. She seems to have
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, I was going to say he's been buying up a storm. So yeah, I guess I'll be doing what he's doing.
Selling a fair bit of aviation stock, I believe. That was the last thing I heard. I don't watch it closely. I'm more invested in people and property than the stock market. But anecdotally, I heard he was divesting himself of a lot of aviation stuff.
Yep, no, all good. And you have talked about all the exciting NDIS housing that you're currently involved in. So what's currently a very exciting deal that you're allowed to share with us that you're involved in?
Oh, absolutely. I actually don't know where to start with that, but I'll just wade in at the deep end. Myself and my business partners put a business plan in place to have 100 properties under management over the next 2 years. We very quickly had to increase that to 300. We're currently sitting at 184 in various stages of DA, construction and completion. We're very fortunate that we own disabilityhousing.com.au. So we've forged incredible relationships with with hospitals and support coordinators, everybody in the industry. And we actually help people get their SDA allowance. We've got a team that works on that. So it's really interesting, Mary. I'll share something that some people might find a little bit hard to believe. You'll get it because I get you. You have to, for us to go into partnership with somebody, they've got to be on the same wavelength with regard to why they're there. So I'll give you an example of somebody that wasn't there, and I never thought the day would come when we'd say no to an incredibly large amount of money. But my business partner got a phone call from a company or a fund in Singapore. They've got $100 million to invest. They want to put it into NDIS, SDA housing. And Greg said, why is that? Oh, it's just a great return. Well, yes, it is. It's a great return. There's no hiding that. But why? Well, we just want a great return. Yeah, but what about the people? What about young people that are in aged care because there's nowhere for them to go? People in hospital that can't get out of hospital, they're known as bed hoggers in the hospital because they don't provide as much income to the hospital as people that are in and out do. And perfectly sane people that are in psych wards because there's no beds for them. What about them? Oh, they didn't say we don't care, but they just kept coming back to the money. The return, and Greg said, I'm sorry, that's not what we're looking for. And he said no to a fund with $100 million. Well, guess what? We say no to them, and then another one comes in and says, we want to work with you. And it's just exploding. It's how often can you be involved in a business where on the day that a particular project comes to fruition, and we had one just recently here in Canberra, where there's not a dry eye in the house, where the people that have just come into that house, two of the people that have come in, they haven't had the sun on their back, literally haven't had the sun on their back for 5 years. And they've come out of that hospital via patient transport into a place that they've now got their own room with their own ensuite and their own outdoor courtyard and their own 24/7 care, not listening to a whole heap of other people in a ward, able to form a community. No wonder there's not a dry eye in the house. It's just the most incredible feeling. It transcends business. And of course, we've got a great business model behind it, but sometimes it needs to be more than that. So anyway, you did ask.
I did. No, fantastic. And perfect opportunity for people that don't really know what NDIS housing is. So from my perspective, from that story, that shows me essentially what NDIS does is it takes people who are currently in hospital or medical facilities into more residential housing where they're a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. And so what the premise of the NDIS is to give people a disability choice. So in the past, you'd have a company, I won't name any of them, but there's a lot of them that provide care. So they own the facility, they own the dwelling or the block of flats or whatever. The support coordinators work under their umbrella, as do all of the other providers of support. They get paid as the landlord and provider of those services by the government, and a person with disability, if they don't like something in there, they're welcome to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got nowhere to go to. This gives them choice. You know, they come into our properties, we make sure we only build in absolute blue chip areas, because at the moment we've got an imbalance in the market. So you could build a place for somebody with high physical support, say a duplex with two people either side, an on-site overnight carers room, and you'll have tenants, participants we call them. But I'm telling you, when a better spot comes up closer to the shopping centre or opposite the railway station, we've got a couple in incredible positions. When they come up next to the facilities that they want, you're going to lose those tenants, because the tenants have rights. So although we have a service agreement, an SDA is a specialised disability accommodation. So we have an SDA provider agreement with the tenants, and underpinning that is the local state tenancy act. The NDIS provisions override the Tenancy Act, and nobody would ever want to be a person, the first person or the 101st person, to try to force a person with disability to stay in their house because they've signed a lease. It's about choice, and it's just awesome. It's a beautiful film. We've actually taken head leases on a major facility in southeast Queensland. It was a former government facility, and we're changing some of the accessible rooms to fully accessible, and people are moving into those, and we're taking a head lease, and we provide that accommodation as those people wait for our buildings to come online in that area. So they're able to transition out of where they're living, and they're another step closer to having a place they can call their own. And at the end of the day, the final piece of the puzzle is that the government pays the rent. It's moved the cost of looking after people with disability off the state purse onto the federal purse. And the rent that the government pays through the NDIS to the landlord of all of these houses is remarkably high. But it's taken it off the state, and it's brought people together, to allow communities to form, just smaller communities that are way outside hospitals. We have all the support people for each person with disability meet beforehand to make sure that, because no one knows their family or the people that they care about better than they do. So they all meet each other to make sure that they're comfortable, that the person they care about is going to be comfortable with all of the other people in the house.
Yep.
So nobody goes in until everyone's happy with who they're going in with. So they're creating these communities, whether it's a 4-participant house or a duplex, or it's a couple of we're doing 2 9-story towers in Southport, and we're doing 3 adjoining towers that are 5 stories high in Cannon Hill. They're communities built state of the art, just awesome.
Fantastic.
I keep coming back to that. Sometimes I get a little bit lost for words, because you can't communicate how much it means to see people's lives change.
Definitely. So I feel like is that a good way of tying a mission for a business and to the success of a business, compared to, as you said, you turned away $100 million fund to say, sorry, well, your mission's to make money, and that's really not completely aligned with our mission.
That's 100% correct. What we have to do, everything we do in life, whether it's in business or property or family, everything has to be congruent. It has to match your values. You've got to start out with what your values are, and only engage with people and circumstances that are congruent with those values. And then it works. Doesn't matter whether you're manufacturing marbles or paddle pop sticks, or providing housing for people with disability, or helping people out that are in mortgage stress. Mary, I don't want to embarrass you with this, but you know that I describe you as gratitude personified, because you go out to help people. That's why we resonate. You just get it. Not everyone does, and they go from pillar to post, hither and thither. They're never quite satisfied because they haven't found whatever that nirvana is that they're looking for. You know what you're looking for. You're just looking for a space to help people. And guess what? That translates into building a terrific business model for you. So that's win-win. And it's exactly the same with me, and it's the same with the same with my circle. There's no one in the circle that does. They don't get in our circle. They're either on our page or they're not. There's no grey area. So if you apply all of those principles to any business, you can't help but have a successful business. As long as you can grow it, as long as you can lead, as long as the team know that you're there for the right reason, therefore they're there for the right reason. They're not just coming to work with a job. You know, one of the figures that we use in the advisory space, and business advisory, is that 31% of employees are actively engaged. And by that I mean they come to work wanting the company to be as good as possible, and they're prepared to do whatever they need to do to make that company as great as possible. And some people look at that and say, oh, gee, 31%, that's nearly a third. That's not bad. That's dreadful. I mean, 69% of the employers are working against you.
Exactly.
So surround yourself, find the other 69% great people, and you will build an organisation that's absolutely unstoppable. And they exist all over the world. They're the ones that get when the business is sold, they're the ones that get the gigantic multiples of earnings. My business mentor, Peter Hickey from Mouse Business System, sold his business for a multiple of 12 times earnings. Next year's earnings, not last year's, next year's. And 5 years later, he bought it back for less than a multiple of one, and he's built it up again.
Oh, wow.
So, and the reason he's able to do that, the reason that he's able to do that is because he has got an incredible team. They would walk over broken glass for him, and he'd do the same for them. And, you know, he knows he can walk the line between being a great mate and being a great boss. He does it very, very, very successfully. And that's what the leaders of great organisations do. They find that balance.
Wow. Thanks, Phil. I feel like I really learned something just now. Thank you.
Well, it's about time. It's about time, because I get something out of every conversation with you. So it's a tit for tat.
Thanks, Phil. And then maybe I feel like there's a lot of information, but for the people that are actually really keen to find out more about NDIS and whether they potentially have some land to develop, or they want to work with you and invest, like what is the best place to reach you and get more info? They can get me at any time at Phil at Disability Housing Solutions with an S.com.au. And but make sure that they mention that the connection is your good self, just so I know where they're coming from. We get inquiries from all over the place, and look, I understand it's new and people want to learn a lot, but I've got it down fairly. I can give people a fairly good overview and then understand what it is they're looking for, and then send them in the right direction, fairly quickly. So that, they can get me through there. And if they want to look at what we're doing, have a look at disabilityhousing.com.au. No solutions in that one. Disabilityhousing.com.au, and that's our website we even allow our opposition to advertise on it. Now, you as a person that understands instinctively social media and marketing and the benefits of it and SEO, by letting other people, this is a tip for everybody that's maybe starting a fledgling business and they don't know how to build their traffic. Let people onto your website, but insist that they update content. Exactly what Mr. Google's looking for. So let them do it. Don't charge them to be there. No matter how you search, under organic searching, you will find disability housing and disability housing solutions at the top of the list. We don't spend a cent on SEO, on marketing. So a little tip for people that are just starting out. And trust me, do I look like I know a lot about IT and social media? No, I don't. That's a couple of generations below me. After me, I should say. That's okay. I was going to say, well, that's what great leaders do. We leverage other people's talents, but at the same time, having an understanding of what it is that they do. So perfect. You've done that perfectly, Phil. Well done.
That's awesome. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Exactly. Yes, pretty much. I don't think I ever want to be in that situation. But I guess just to wrap up, I think imagine if you had a crystal ball in front of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So in Phil's awesome crystal ball, what do you see? You mentioned recovery, but essentially, what will the opportunities be for business owners, homeowners, property investors? Because really,
Okay.
this is a great time for opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd encourage people to distinguish between opportunism and taking advantage of people. So approach every situation with a view to how can I help this person. Remember, Zig Ziglar said so many times, help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything you want.
Yes.
So approach every opportunity with a mindset that let's just listen to see what this person or these people have got to say. What are they looking for? How can I help them get it? Maybe I can help them get it and I get nothing out of it. Well, guess what? Karma will take over at that point and karma will look after you. But in terms of the different types of opportunity, first and foremost, property. If you're going to sell, need to sell now. The buyers are really thin on the ground. There's only a couple of real estate agents, with all due respect to real estate agents. I tend to end up attracting the ones that I trust, because the other ones just become white noise. And so when an agent if an agent that I didn't know would happen to say, look, I've got cash buyers wanting to buy a property, do you want to sell? That would go straight in the circular file. But when somebody that I trust as much as an agent that I deal with here in Canberra, when she says, I've got no stock, I've got cashed up buyers, there's not enough stock out there. If you're going to sell, I can sell it for you now. And that's exactly what we're doing, Mary. We're doing a quick reno on our townhouse here. We're going to sell it and move to a place we've got in the country, and then just keep consolidating. But if you're going to sell now. If you want to find opportunity to help people and then subsequently help yourself as far as your property journey goes, at the end of the year there will be, oh guys, it won't be blood in the streets, but there's going to be, it'll be Armageddon for a lot of people, and I'm so sorry that that's happening. Just a little tip for people. I only know it anecdotally, but when the banks are saying, okay, we'll give you some relief from your mortgage for 6 months while this is all going on, and people have been scrambling to them in their millions to get that relief. If you can, and they say it's not going to affect your credit rating, and no, it won't. But if you can make the payments, just keep making them, because by the living Harry, you'll have some brownie points when we come out the other end of this. When you can show a bank that you didn't need to pay them, but you actually did. Oh, and if it happened to get worse, if Phil's crystal ball, I was looking at it from the wrong angle. If it did get worse, you can always redraw that money. But you look really good in the eyes of the bank. That's something, a tip that I've got almost from an inside perspective. As far as business goes, I'm going to steal this straight from Bernard Salt. And I know you're smiling because you heard him the other day as well. Yeah. The industries that will absolutely boom as we come out the other end of this, that you could almost, even if you didn't listen to him, you could almost pick them. Healthcare, for us, tick. Yep. Construction, tick. Transport and logistics. I had 10 years of that back in the 80s. I don't want to go back there. I'm not prepared to start another intensive business like that, but there's huge opportunity out there in transport and logistics. Agribusiness. We've got the best food, the best water, the most untouched land by and large in the world, and everyone wants a part of it. Agribusiness will be absolutely huge. Online learning. If you've got something that, if you've got IP and you can digitize it, you can monetize it, because people are going to come to that in droves as well. And the things I wouldn't want, I don't know if Bernard actually said this, I think he may have touched on it, but this is not even anecdotal, I'm seeing it. My accountant said I wouldn't like to own commercial property in the CBD. We're changing how we work. We're being forced into working from home. Mm-hmm. And my accountant's got an Australia-wide business. He lives down the south coast of New South Wales. Australia-wide business that he's now running from home. And he said, we've been forced into doing it. And he said, it's unbelievable. And he said, the cost savings, the extra productivity. You know, we don't live in an Orwellian state where we need Big Brother looking at every keystroke to understand that we're working. They'll look at our bosses, if we've got bosses, will look at our output and say, okay, he did a great job. He's doing a great job. We don't have to micromanage him. So there's going to be more outsourcing. There's going to be more working from home. Even the way our homes are designed are going to change. And we may be nice if we went back to a one-car family because both people didn't have to leave home to go to work.
That's right.
That'd be awesome. And then we're hearing too, and again, this was Bernard. You've got a lot to learn from this guy. It's not just rhetoric with him. He backs it up with facts and figures and anecdotes and stories. You know, the two-car garage might become a one-car garage and a gym. And guess what? Wonders of wonders. The pantry, the butler's pantry, might just happen to become a pantry. You know, where you store food. Gee, what a novel idea.
And toilet paper.
Oh yeah, my goodness. Well, I have thoughts on that as well. While the world was out rushing for toilet paper and sanitizer, my beautiful partner Diane was buying up vitamin C, Exhibit A.
Oh, wow, that's a big bottle.
We do like our vitamin C, potassium and zinc. Gee, we're coming out the other end of this healthier than we went in. So yeah, that's just my crystal ball, navel gazing as we come out the other end. There's lots and lots and lots of opportunities. Businesses are stressed. If somebody is either in the advisory space or considering getting into it, this is the time. Upskill yourself. I'm happy if anyone wants to have a talk about that as well at any time. Because the people will be screaming for advice because they're not going to know which way to turn as they come out the other end. So opportunity left, right and centre.
Definitely. Thanks for your time, Phil. I really appreciate all of your wisdom. And
that's my pleasure, Mary.
Yeah, and I mean, to all my viewers, one of the things I recommend is getting advice, definitely, like what Phil has said, but you're really getting it from experienced and credible sources, like Phil and all his companies. Yeah, because once again, Phil, I don't know, during this period, if you've been online or on the TV, there are experts everywhere, right? Everybody's at home with a camera. So I think we need to be more discerning, and so filtering out the noise and actually getting to the people with the good stuff. So if you tuned into this podcast, you're at the right place.
Well, and thanks for that, Mary. Look, it's a lot cheaper and more time efficient to learn from other people's mistakes.
Yes, definitely. But yes, thanks, Phil. I really, once again, appreciate your wisdom. And
that's my pleasure. Anytime, I look forward to hearing from anyone and helping them in any way I can. I hope everyone has an awesome day.